Welcome, my musical friends. Today marks the start of not only this channel, but a place where you and I can come together and we can have a conversation, a relationship about what it is that we love, and of course, that being music. I want to talk about everything from the creating, the writing, the recording, the mixing, the mastering, all right here. Today, I want to offer you 5 simple mixing truths that I like to take into just about every mix or every situation where I'm going to mix. So without further ado, let's jump right in. So as everybody can see, I'm running a 5K iMac from 2015, and I believe there are 32 gigs of RAM. And that rhymed like crazy unintentionally, but I'm going to roll with it anyway. Why do I bring up the specs of the computer? Well, that's my first mixing truth for everybody. It's that know the capabilities of the system that you're working with. And that sounds totally obvious, like, yeah, self-explanatory, but it's true. You really need to know what it is that you can offer the client. If it's a song in particular that they want a lot of reverb going on, which is not uncommon, reverb is awesome. But if they want a certain reverb sound, then you have this convolution reverb that they love. You can't put that reverb on 20 different tracks because your processing power is going to go right out the door. So instead, maybe bus all those tracks down to an effects channel and then put the one reverb, right on that channel and then send to it as needed. Save a ton of resources that way. Know the sampling rate and the bit depth that your system can handle. I think one time I was recording on my laptop and I recorded at a higher sampling rate and I couldn't play more than like 5 or 6 clips together because the computer just couldn't handle all that information at one time. So it's important to really know those things because then you're going to be hindered later. In PreSonus Studio One, we have a performance monitor that tracks all the CPU hit from all the plugins. And like I said, reverb is the classic example because although no audio is passing through any of these right now, look at what's taking up the processing. And by the way, I have it set so that the highest CPU load is being displayed at the top. So it's verb, sound toys, effect rack, that's a verb, little plate, verb. The reverbs really take up the processing power. That's truth number 1. Mixing tip number 2. Invest in the best possible monitoring system that you can afford. And that probably sounds obvious as well, but I'm speaking out of personal experience when I used to have these monitors. And they were great monitors. Could have been the monitors, could have been the room, could have been the monitors in the room. But for whatever reason, there was a boost of low end that technically wasn't there in the song, and I was boosting high end where I shouldn't have, and I was cutting low end where I shouldn't have. And for years, my mixes sounded brittle, harsh, not warm, the opposite of not warm, cold. We don't use that in audio, but not warm, and it really hindered my frequency response of my mix. So have a pair of monitors, headphones that give you a nice flat response. A lot of speakers struggle with this if they're smaller because the woofers are just too small to actually resonate those low frequencies. It's physics, really. I mean, think about like a stand-up bass and how big that thing is to carry that around. My brother used to play one forever. It was terrible. And think about how small a violin is, right? You don't need that much wood, that much material to make those frequencies resonate. So the bigger the speaker, generally, the more low end you're going to have, but you also have to control that also if your room's not big enough. So have a good set of monitors, listen to them in your space if you can before you invest in them, but definitely make sure that those are tip-top shape for your situation. Mixing truth number 3. Once you've bought those speakers or headphones that you love, now it's time to protect them. And I'm not saying from falling, I'm saying from the audio that is passing through them. When you open up a session for the first time, throw a limiter on your master bus. It's not going to do anything, it's just going to protect your monitoring system. All your faders are going to be at unity anyway, so when you press play, who knows what's going to come out of that. You're going to probably definitely be clipping your master bus way above 0. So put the limiter on, protect everything, and then start to drag down the sliders as you go. So if you guys look on my master bus here, I have L2 from FabFilter. Great plugin, by the way. Came out, I would say, about 2 months ago now. Loving it for its new metering that it has over here. Great for knowing exactly what levels you're shooting for. And at the moment, it's really not doing anything. In fact, it really shouldn't be working too hard because we don't want to be mixing so hot. You know, we shouldn't be having a mix that's hitting this limiter at all. In fact, quite the opposite. When you're mixing, you want a pretty conservative level. This way, when you send it out for mastering, they have something nice and easy to work with. Why is it here if it's not doing anything, you ask? Well, that's in case this happens. And for me, I have a trackpad, so sometimes my hand can slip and the fader can jump all the way up to +10, and that will most certainly cause this up here to go over 0 and definitely clip into some red, and then possibly burning out a tweeter or two. So I have it there just as a means of protection. I'm not hitting the limiter, it's just there just in case anything goes awry and I need to spare my monitoring system. So that is mixing truth number 3. Mixing truth number 4. Listen objectively. Whether you're getting stems for the first time or you have somebody's track to master and you're about to throw that up for the first time, listen to it with neither a glass is half full or a glass is half empty approach. Maybe just think of it as glass. And we're going to add water or pour some out depending on what's needed on the situation. We're so lucky nowadays to have amazing emulations of beautiful plugins that literally look identical to the hardware from which they came from. But I'll tell you something that's not in every single instruction manual, is that you don't have to turn every single knob that's on the plugin. What do I mean? Well, let's take a look. I don't know. Let's take a look at this part right here. This little effects chain that I have from Slate Virtual Mix Rack makes beautiful emulations of plugins, by the way. This right here in particular, the middle one, is a SSL, okay, EQ section. And if you can see, I didn't touch anything in the lower mid-range. You know, this guitar part, take a listen to it real quick. Without the processing. A little dull. So we brought out that brightness. Brought out the articulation of the instrument. So it's nice. So you don't always have to turn every single knob that's available to you. Only turn exactly what it is that's going to improve the overall sound of the audio. And lastly, the last truth that I have for you guys for mixing is serve the song. This truth can be applied to every point in the creation process. Everything from writing parts, mixing parts, mastering, everything has to be a support network to the overall picture of the song. Us as audio engineers, we like to get caught up in the technical. You know, we love the numbers. We love exactly what it is that our plugins can do or supposed to do to the sound, that we can get lost in what really the artist may be hearing, which is, well, how is that changing the way my song sounds? And I will say that I think you guys will agree with me that it's more common to hear someone say, oh wow, that's a great song, over that's a great mix. When was the last time you were outside your audio friend circle and you heard someone say, wow, what a great mix? It hasn't happened to me, but if it's happened to you, leave it in the comment section. We'll talk about it. So that's mixing truth number 5. So guys, thank you so much for watching this first video. I hope it was helpful to you. If it was, leave a like, comment, and subscribe down below. Let's have a conversation. Tell me about some of the truths that you take into every single mixing session to really help the artist achieve that goal that they hear, that sound that they hear in their head. That's ultimately what the most important thing is at the end of the day. All right, guys. Thank you again so much for watching. I'm Nick. We'll see you next time.